That third round running back pick, Ty Davis Price, you think that was a panic pick, or do you think it was planned all along?
To me, you can make the case either way. Let's walk through it, and then at the end, I'll see if what you've said swayed me in one direction or the other. But if you go with the panic pick, you look at the Buccaneers trading up to pick 91. They select Rachaad White. Again, the 49ers miss out on what you would assume are a slew of players that they would have been interested in. Marcus Jones goes at 85, 8 picks before the Niners. And then Dylan Parham comes off at 90. Rachaad White at 91 from the Bucs, moving up. As soon as the Bucs did that and took a running back, and then we selected a running back, I wondered if they had jumped ahead to grab Rachaad White. Even Sean Ryan at 92. So that's a list of names that come off. It could have caused the 49ers to jump and fall back on someone that they had a lower grade on. To me, this was a situation where you had a couple of safeties still on the board at that point, and the 49ers decided to go running back, a committee running back, someone who doesn't seem to be a home run hitter. So when I initially looked at this, I leaned towards saying this was a panic move because it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like a value pick.
I think it could have been a panic move in the sense that maybe it wasn't the running back they wanted, but I don't know. I don't think it was a panic move. I think they did plan to go running back at this spot all along. And the reason I say that is they interviewed Brian Robinson, who went to Alabama and got drafted a few picks later by Washington. So
right.
I think they were thinking wide receivers running backs in this area. The question is why? Why did they feel they need to take a wide receiver here? I think it has a lot to do with Debo. Even though it's starting to look like they're going to mend things, and Debo followed him on Instagram, and things are getting better, they didn't know how that would go. Debo was acting like he was real mad, and I think they felt that they needed to be prepared for the worst case scenario, and that's 2 players, a running back and a wide receiver, to replace Debo. And I think you saw they went back to back in round 3 with their Debo replacements just in case. And I think that, maybe that's a panic move, but I think Debo forced their hand. If Debo had never requested a trade, I don't think they would have went running back, wide receiver back to back in round 3. I think Debo made them do that.
That makes sense to me. And the planned argument also has some validity. If you're looking at it from a Debo angle, Debo was the heaviest running back for the San Francisco 49ers last year. Yep. Now you're bringing in a guy who played at 229 pounds last year and then dropped a bunch of weight to run a faster 40 time. But at LSU, he was playing at 229 and has indicated that that's more of the playing weight that is expected of him by the 49ers. And so you're packing on an additional 10 pounds on top of what Debo would have brought to the table. So it does sort of signify, hey, Debo, we are not going to need you to punch it in on some of those shorter runs. We are investing in our running back room. And furthering the argument of a planned attack, I agree. The 49ers looked at enough running backs to make it clear they were looking to bring in a running back in this draft. Mitchell was really great last year, but did miss 6 games. Sermon, you would say, seems to be a bit of a miss to this point. And so, again, you've got to fill out that running back room. And to bring in a guy who, he's not a home run hitter. He got caught from behind a lot, but the 49ers did point out, and facts don't lie, he had a top 5 GPS speed during his game against Alabama in November. So out of all the running backs coming out, he was top 5 as far as top miles per hour hit on that GPS tracking device. He still was tackled from behind on that run, which is kind of strange, but there is some
run in college was 40 yards.
Yeah. It's not pretty in that regard. I don't see this as a great pick, but as far as making the argument for it being planned, you certainly can make a powerful argument for them planning to take a running back, and you could see why they might want a heavier back in backing up what you're saying there about, hey, trying to replace Debo. They took a heavier running back, and they took a wide receiver back to back. Those felt like Debo picks.
Well, also, they were looking at Brian Robinson, who went a few picks later to Washington. Robinson is even bigger than Ty Davis Price. It seems like they're looking for that type of running back because although they said they didn't say it, but they're trying to use Debo less as a running back, they're still going to use him on the outside runs. He scores touchdowns on the
He's
sweep.
Elite.
And those, you don't take big hits from defensive linemen outside. Those are hits from DBs and linebackers, and that's okay. They did also use him as a short yardage running back a lot because he's bigger. and runs harder than Elijah Mitchell. And I
He's
think
a wide back.
it's fair to say enough of that. That's ridiculous. No more. Only bad things can come out of that. And so you saw not only with Ty Davis Price, but their undrafted free agent running back, Jordan Mason, another guy who played at like 225 and is not just a short yardage running back, but it can be a short yardage running back. So they got two of them. The Niners used to get these 200-pound 4.3 one-cut runners. Ty Davis Price isn't that. He's not a one-cut runner at all. He is line up in the shotgun and just plunge between the tackles downhill as hard as you can. That's a big departure from what the Niners have been looking from in the past.
It is. And it does seem to complement the rest of the room. I am excited to see how this plays out. I just wasn't thrilled about the grade that almost everyone had on this player being a round or two later. It seemed like a stretch. It didn't seem like great value. It caught me off guard. It wasn't someone I had looked at. But the question I want to ask you is, in a vacuum, if you had to look at this purely from the selection of Davis Price here, what would you say that this says about Trey Sermon? What does this tell you about the Niners feeling about last year's running back draft pick?
I think they feel that he's a mistake, and maybe he's not. But there's a big difference in Ty Davis Price and Trey Sermon. They're both guys who line up in the shotgun. They're inside zone runners from the shotgun. That's a good fit with Trey Lance, because with Jimmy Garoppolo, it's an under center outside zone. So he's a good fit with Trey Lance, but Trey Sermon is not a hard runner. He's more of like, he's slippery, he's elusive, he slides around, but he's not just charging downhill and running over people.
Right.
That's what Ty Davis Price does. So I think the Niners felt like, we don't want this dude stutter step in behind the line. I think we want someone like Debo who just charges into the defense, and that's what this guy does. And also their undrafted free agent Jordan Mason, way different running styles than Trey Sermon.
It is interesting, too, to compare them to backs that you've seen within Anthony Lynn's scheme. They do feel like a good fit for what Anthony Lynn may bring to the evolution of this run game.
Sure. Evan, thank you. Richie says, looks like Kyle is only picking guys that fit the system on both sides of the ball. BPA and his system is not the same as BPA everyone else has. Well, one more thing I want to say about the third round. I didn't like the running back pick. You don't have to take a running back in round 3. Every time the Niners have shown late in the draft, undrafted free agents, we're going to talk about the running back they took, Jordan Mason. He looks really good. He looks like might be better than this guy. So to me, even though you need a running back, you can get running backs. Don't draft a running back here. You should have drafted a safety here. We're going to talk about safety in a minute. This was an opportunity to take a safety. Sorry.
It could have been Bobby Turner panic. They didn't have Bobby manning the phones this year, so they may not get one of those late round steals.
Kev says Niners get swept by AFC West this year. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, it is.
They might beat the Raiders.
Dude, I looked at Matt Barrows put out like his best case scenario for the way in which the Niners schedule plays out. And even best case scenario, it's a brutal freaking schedule, Grant.
Super brutal.
Oh,
the coach says we got different problems. The running back position hits different for what we do offensively. Most teams have a decent running game. We need a running game. Yeah. And I think they might run more this year than they even ran last year. And again, the Niners used to be Jimmy Garoppolo under center, tossing left and right, guys trying to get to the edge, one cut, boom. So what they needed was that burst, the speed, and also Kyle would look at the 20-yard shuttle. Because if you're trying to think of like what combine drill measures cutting on one foot the best, the 20-yard shuttle. It's a series of what cuts on one leg. So there was sort of a magic number for him. If you look at the running backs he's drafted, 4.2 in the 20-yard shuttle. Even Debo hit that. So the guys, this guy isn't anywhere near that. And if you think about it, all of a sudden it's totally different. Trey's going to be in the shotgun a lot of the time, running back right next to him. And the track isn't going to be, wide cut up field. It's going to be that quick between the tackle. And it's like, there's not a big cut you're making there. That's just like running really hard into defensive lineman and linebacker. How tough are you? How big are you? How much velocity can you generate? So I think that's kind of their issue with Trey Sermon. Like, dude.
And the attrition last year was really something. So you could see the 49ers wanting to bulk up that room, add some pounds to their running backs. The heavier the running back is, the more punishment they can take. So it definitely feels like a position of need for the 49ers. I just didn't like the value.